recently the news of the EU delisting stablecoins for failure to comply with MiCA, which is the EU regulatory regime. Tether was at least implicitly sort of cited as a likely impacted stablecoin. I mean, is it then that the EU is not a high priority? Maybe you can talk a little bit about that situation and what's happening
later. So first of all, the EU is a little bit like the US. So the EU is still coalition of fairly rich countries. So the percentage of unbanked is very, very tiny, right? Again, there are countries where the percentage is 90%. The EU might be around 5%. So you have to pick your own battles. But I think that I've been quite vocal on the EU MiCA regulation because I am very in favor, and we as a company are very in favor of regulations. But regulation should help defend the customer. The issue with the MiCA regulation is this one. If you are a big stablecoin like USDT, you are required to keep 60% of your reserves in cash deposit. Cash deposits in Europe are insured up to 100,000 euros. In the US, I think that they are insured up to $250,000. Imagine that you are a stablecoin and you have 10 billion of euros of market cap. Then 60%, so I mean 6 billion euros, have to be kept in an insured cash deposit in European banks. Now, banks can lend out up to 90% of that 6 billion euros. So it means that 5.4 billion euros can be lent out to people that want to start a company, buy a house, buy a car, and so on. 600 million euros will be kept in the bank. Now, imagine someone wants to have a redemption 2 billion euros. They come to the stablecoin issuer, they ask for 2 million, and the stablecoin issuer goes to the bank, and the bank has only 600 million. The bank goes bankrupt because they cannot meet the redemption, and the stablecoin issuer goes bankrupt.
I think it's one of those under-discussed questions, sort of let's call it the geoeconomics sort of question, is that there are T-bills that are backing Tether to a degree, and certainly I've heard sort of anecdotally that there are a lot of them. I think that many people here in Washington D.C. would be surprised. I've heard again anecdotally that there are actually more T-bills held by Tether than Germany. I don't know if that's entirely correct or not, but it gives a sense of the scale of Tether. What does that even mean for Tether to hold those kinds of reserves, and what does it mean in terms of the stakes for the U.S. government?
So we are very close to Germany. So we have more T-bills compared to UAE, compared to Australia and Spain. So we believe that U.S. treasuries are the safest assets that a company could hold in the balance sheet, right? So especially the short-term ones. Again, the most important job of a stablecoin issuer is being able to liquidate the reserves and pay back everyone and pay every single redemption in a timely fashion. So that's why, given the rapid increase of Tether, in 4 years we went from $15 billion to 120 as of today. We have to use the best asset that we could have. Now, what does it mean for the U.S.? I think it's a great question, right? If I think about the macroeconomic aspect of what is happening in the world, I remember China had around 3 billion or 2 trillion in U.S. treasuries holdings up to 2 or 3 years ago. And if you look at today, they have around 800 billion. And in that scenario, there is a kind of a single decision maker that decides to divest from U.S. treasuries in a short period of time. In fact, 2 trillion to 800 billion in just a few years.
How does Tether make the case that it is not an instrument for evildoers?
That's a very good point, and I think this is a very timely because, look, stablecoins are very, very powerful, and actually they can give access very easily to payments to hundreds of millions of people, as we said. But not only for the government and for regulators and for law enforcement, the ecosystem safety is important. For Tether itself, and for all our users, the ecosystem safety is important, right? So we don't want to have few bad apples actually creating problems to hundreds of millions of people that really need the product and this new payment system for their lives, right, for their families. So as a CEO of Tether, for me, KYC and ML are very, very important. Compliance is very, very important. So in the latest December, I became the CEO of Tether. And I wanted to reinforce that mission. That didn't start just last year, to be clear. Tether has always been a force of compliance. And I understand that publicly it never, or it didn't appear like that, at least in the US, right? I want to be open, I want to be transparent about that and about the issues. I think communication, transparency is truly important, and we are actually doubling down on that. So Tether, as also recently announced, works with more than 180 law enforcement agencies across more than 45 different countries. We onboarded the FBI. We onboarded US Secret Services to help them with their issuances. So when money is frozen, we can help them to get back the money and being able so that money can be redistributed to the legitimate owners.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of a huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting it more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and you know, when the dealers have to step in to save a Treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And guys, please like and subscribe if you do like what you're listening to. Please inform your friends and family and spread it all over social media. It is imperative that we get back to learning finances and understand how the world really works, because once we understand how the world really works, we understand that it is all planned out. Now, I want to thank those who purchased the books Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book. Remember, the New World Order book shows you how the world really works, and it is definitely time for you to wake up out of that sleep, especially in the times that we're in right now. And 2024 is going to be one of our most entertaining years. We have the presidential election. We have the drums are beating. We have the emerging markets going to be flipping the switch on the fourth industrial revolution. And they finally start to cut rates. And we know Japan is going to start raising rates. And those trillions of dollars that are sitting in money market accounts are going to start flowing over to the emerging markets. And we know the master magicians are about to set up that distraction so they can cut rates while we still have inflation. And in the fourth quarter, once the election is over, the movie begins. And also, guys, I want to thank those who purchased the 3 Kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, much love to those who donate to the Cash App, Patreon. Much love. Keep it coming. Guys, if you're not a part of the Patreon, make sure you're donating to the channel through the actual Cash App. But guys, this next Bitcoin and crypto bull run is going to be a utility run. So you want to make sure you have the cryptos that have real utility. And much love to those who are shopping at both stores. Keep it coming. And of course, guys, we get into Bitcoin and cryptos first.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And we had Bitcoin and crypto make a move this morning as expected. But guys, make sure you're paying attention to CME. It opens tonight. We know it's going to move the market. And then, of course, in the morning, once yield rates get to moving, it'll move the market again. Remember, this is like clockwork. So make sure you're paying attention to the actual indicators. We have yield rates on Friday, which moved up. We also had the dollar move up. We know that's not good for markets, but Jerome Powell is going to be in the house in the next 2 weeks. So I definitely see yield rates get manipulated down. We know how this works. We know when Jerome is in the house, they like the markets to look decent. But right now, we have volume and crypto down. We have Tether and USDC. And then, of course, we have the Fed. Repo at $227 billion on Friday. Make sure you're pulling that on a daily basis during the week. And like I told you, I definitely see the repo leaving because all these emergency tools that were created during the C word are coming to an end. And I definitely see this repo coming to an end because it's time to cut this balance sheet even more. And then we also know the government is going to start cutting that deficit. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And we have the Fed and central banks right now are in a rate cutting cycle. We have PCE numbers coming out Friday, which is going to set up Jerome Powell's decision. Now, we know he told us they're going to do 25 basis points in November and December. But if these numbers come in high, they're going to pause. And by these interest rates being so high for so long in the global economy, it has already destroyed the legacy market. We're just going through a phase. The Fed is just holding it up long enough to bring in the fourth industrial revolution, whether robots, algorithms, and drones take the economy over, pay each other with crypto, and the sheep go inside the metaverse. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. Now we have the Bitcoin and Ethereum spot ETFs, BlackRock, Fidelity, and Grayscale. Bitcoin and Ethereum spot ETFs on Friday were down. But getting over into a little crypto news. Now we had the DC FinTech Week, and we had the CEO of Tether speaking at the conference. But then we also had the Wall Street Journal come out and say the DOJ is investigating Tether. And you can see the movie being set up. Now, Tether and stablecoins, of course, will be a big piece over the next year. When you listen to Tether's CEO speaking about EU's MiCA rules holding 60% of reserves in cash deposits, we know that sounds crazy, and it really sounds crazy in the current system that we're in right now. Fractional reserve lending, they would never be able to make that happen. So we can clearly see how the central banks are going to maintain control of this money supply. And Tether CEO goes over how China is selling off these U.S. treasuries, but Tether is buying it up. But one key thing he stated is that Tether does not target the U.S. Their main target is the emerging markets. And that's because of inflation and they're dying fiat. And Tether also states they're working with the Alphabet boys, and we know they've been working with the Alphabet boys from the beginning. So why would the Wall Street Journal come out with that report? Because they're trying to set us up for the movie. Guys, we know these small and medium-sized banks have to come to an end, either consolidate or disappear. And crypto is going to take the blame while the drums are beaten and then become the solution. We know the NWO calls the problem, wait for the reaction, and run in with the solution. And guys, I'm going to leave you a video of Tether speaking about the emerging markets, banking the unbanked, but we know they're enslaving the unslaved. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. But that's all I have for you. Don't forget about the books, Crypto Teacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing they were still getting that free money, what are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Drama Team save the village. Part 2. King Bitrue and raw material goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.
The use case of Tether was helping the cryptocurrency trading settlement. So very simple, limited use case. But especially during the pandemic and after the pandemic, and the change of different geopolitical situation, and especially macroeconomical situation in emerging markets and developing countries, USDT has become the lifeline for hundreds of millions of people around the world, especially in emerging markets. So one important statistic is that 3 billion people in the world don't have access to bank account or basic financial services. They are not bad people. They are simple people. They are just poor people, too poor of being of interest of banks, because they generate on a yearly basis too few commissions. But with stablecoins and USDT, we gave them for the first time in their lives the ability to have access to payments, to start creating their first savings account directly on the smartphone, instead of having to collect money in cash form under the pillow. As of recent statistics, we see how USDT have been growing over the last few years to 330 million users just on chain, plus several tens of millions of users that are using USDT through centralized exchanges. And another important statistic is that on a quarterly by quarterly basis, we are growing very fast. We are adding around 30 million new wallets per quarter. So the reason for that is actually because we are providing an easy service, a service that everyone can use. And again, think about the people that live in Argentina, think the people that live in Turkey, I think, or in Brazil, or in high inflation countries. We said about 3 billion people living in 3 billion people that don't have access to basic financial services. 5 billion people are living in high inflation countries. Those people are honestly sick and tired to have only access to their national currencies. And so they are looking for an alternative. And historically, that alternative has been the US dollar. Right? But in Argentina, if you live in Argentina, access to the US dollar is very, very hard, is harder and harder. And so people want to find a better way than trying to use the black market to access the US dollar cash. They want to use locally regulated exchanges to buy digital dollars using their pesos. So that is what Tether USDT is representing. It's like this digital dollar for we are not selling USDT in the US.